Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening, Tuesday the 4th of June. It is 1 month today, the general election, and I wanted to share this transmission with you to bring you up to speed and have a conversation with all of you of what has been going on, and really ask the question of all of you as to where it is you want this town to end up. I have been able to do what I have done for the last 5.5 years or so. We're now in our 6th year. I have been able to do what I have done and stay in one piece because of the protection offered to me as a consequence of my past. From friends and family, friends, it's indistinguishable really in the places where I was raised. And from the elderly to the children of my friends, I have been offered, received protection that I am forever grateful for and forever will be grateful for. And what is increasingly unacceptable to me is the abuse that those who stood by me are now having to endure for no other reason than I stepped forward and tried to make this town, this borough, a better place for all of us. And that's the decision we have to make. What is it we want? What sort of place do we want to live in? Now, we all suffer from online trolls, you've all seen that, but this has got beyond that because I can deal with the abuse myself. The abuse directed at me is of no consequence. It's something those of you who followed me have seen I've endured from the beginning, and the reason why I've had to endure it is because Greater Manchester Police, whilst they're happy to hammer down my door and arrest me, refuse to arrest these people because these people are protected because of their political links. I think that's clear to most people who've been on this journey with me. I've had a couple of meetings with people who I trust or value. And it would be easy for me to call it a day. Because it's not fair on them. My mother's now passed, so there's very little they can do to try and humiliate her. My sister is probably more stubborn than I am. And for those of you who've met my brother, he's universally well liked. And very few people, no people in fact, have anything bad to say about him, because he's that sort of guy. He's always been that sort of lad. But then I look at, and he's here, one of them's here. Monjo, I think he said hello earlier. Maya, Mr. P, somewhere. Some of the other guys. So I'll start with an apology to them. And it's heartfelt. I put up a quote by William Blake on purpose. It's from his piece, The Proverbs of Hell. Or Proverbs from Hell, I think. So you decide how much of this truth is an act and how much of this truth is sincere. There are 2 video clips in the main that are constantly shared to smear me, to incite violence against me, and now to humiliate and embarrass and demonize the people I love and the relationships with them who I cherish, what I cherish. And I am a man of relationships, and relationships mean more to me than anything. And I've gone on a journey in my life where I came to realize, I think you've got to go on a journey to come to realize this, that material wealth is of very little, if any, value whatsoever. And what enriches a person's life is the relationships he or she has with those around them. The first video, which has been shared repeatedly by a man called Raja Miah, who many of you will have met from or name come across from the Old Westwood and Coldest community watch group, is a snippet where I go through my defense against Arud Shah. If you remember, 8 police officers hammered through my door over 3 years ago now, and arrested me for a number of offences. One was they claimed I was anti-Semitic. Arud Shah, Jim McMahon, clearly, whoever, the Labour Party, the council, the powers that be. I'd gone to the police and my door was hammered down, and I was arrested for being anti-Semitic. And a snippet of a video is repeatedly shared by this man called Raja Miah. And my mistake, I think, in the first instance was to ignore him. Ignore the video. And this video has been shared to thousands of people, and it's clearly caused offence. So on that basis, I apologise to those who've been offended by it, unreservedly. But those of you who have educated will know that context matters. And I think taking a 21-second or a 2-minute segment out of a 2-hour video, and you've been on this journey with me and how I explain things, demonstrates a level of malice, particularly a level of malice by a man who superimpose my photograph on a Greater Manchester press release to make it look like I was a convicted fraudster criminal. And Greater Manchester Police knowingly refused to investigate. So we know what his motives are from the outset. But with the ongoing, and this video, by the way, is 3 years old, 4 years old now. But with the ongoing tragedy, I think is the word I would use, in Gaza, it's been pushed and pushed and pushed to try and present me as a Zionist. I'm not really sure what a Zionist is in terms of a definition. I understand the technical definition, but I don't understand what these people's definition is. So I'm reluctant to engage in a debate or dialogue about that. What I am happy to engage in is the message that I've shared with at least a dozen people now since I've been out on the campaign trail, which started on Saturday for us. For me, there are no sides to this. It's wrong. All of it's wrong. You look at children being killed, it's wrong. You look at hostages being taken, it's wrong. You look at the conversation of he started it, no, he started it, or he started it, or this one's stronger, this one's weaker. It's all wrong, and I've never known a conflict in my entire life where violence is the answer. I don't know a world where violence is the answer. But for some people that isn't enough. So the context of the first video was my criticism of children waving a banner that said, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Now at the time, very few of you had even come across that phrase or understood the contentious nature of the slogan. And you can see that playing out to this day in the national discourse. I used it at the time to demonstrate anti-Semitism because I believe that was what it was demonstrating, because that is the place where I had experienced that phrase. But not just that. What I was trying to convey at the time was, if I have been arrested at the instructions of Arud Shah, who was leader of Oldham Council, for being an anti-Semite, then what were these children? And clearly the children don't come up with these slogans themselves. They get it from someone, from the adults around them. What was this message, this slogan? And somehow, these individuals, and I'll go through some of them with you shortly, have presented it as though I'm some pro-Israeli Zionist, anti-Palestinian, anti-Muslim individual. And then it continues and it goes into playing into that narrative of I'm a gay Christian convert, which was started by Qasim Leni, an advisor of Arud Shah, who, by the way, is front and centre of some of the pro-Palestinian groups at the moment. So I reflect, and clearly my inability to communicate clearly is at fault, which has allowed these people to use that particular snippet in that way. And as I learn now, as you learn, and we're all on a journey, there are a multiple number of meanings to from the river to the sea. But an apology for these people will not be enough. I know that and you know that, but I am not here by choice. I am here doing what I do because there is no one else to do what I do. So if an apology helps, then please accept my unreserved apology. My position, if there was any ambiguity, is that violence is never the answer. The second video that's repeatedly shared, and this one I have fault, more fault, because I should not have lowered myself to that level. I went outside Oldham Central Mosque and posted a video after I had reported it to the police of death threats against me. The incitement of my murder against me, and the police had ignored it. And again, it involved Mushtaq Miah. And what Mushtaq Miah was attempting to do was represent the mosque, or present himself as a representative of the mosque to incite violence against me. Something he's continued to do up to this week. The last one, one of the last comments I read from him, posts I read from him, and I didn't respond, was that I was advocating for a gay imam in the mosque. My immediate thoughts were, well, how do you know the imam in the mosque isn't gay? Or in any mosque isn't gay? I've never asked someone's sexuality in a mosque. Not that it's any of my business, but secondly, of course, I hadn't. And I'd gone outside the mosque and I said, come on then. Basically, come on then. You want me, I'm here. And on reflection, I should not have lowered myself. In that way. But that wasn't enough, and that will never be enough for these people. But nonetheless, my apology. I mean, remember, this journey started for me. Many of you first came across me when this journey started for me, or a beginning of this journey was that the chairman of the mosque was a convicted sex offender, and a campaign to have him removed. But these young men in their 30s, 40s, they're not young men, these men won't stop. And they're now being encouraged by our political leaders. So if there's any ambiguity, my apologies for my inability to be as clear as I wanted or should have been, for not speaking out sooner on a snippet that someone takes and misconstrues it. And most definitely my apology for having reacted the way I did and gone to the mosque. Perhaps you're all better people than I am, and you would have dealt with it better. I can only reflect on my own actions. And the reason for this apology, first and foremost, is because of the harm, the anxiety it is causing to people who helped raise me, people who I consider to be my family. Those who protected me, and because of their protection I have been allowed and able to do what I have done. No, fair, the apologies need to happen because my friends have been badly affected. I don't mind crap coming my way. And these are the people who, through their ongoing support for me, is the reason I'm still in one piece. I met with some of them yesterday. I went for a walk and I thought, no, I need to do something about that. And that's separate to anything political. Now we move on. This is Muhammad Ali. He was a candidate in the election. He is pictured with Jim McMahon. He's the builder. Some of you know him because he sends you late night text messages and turns up and wants selfies with you. Muhammad Ali stood in Colders last year and got 100 and something votes. He went and hung out with Cameron Gaffar and the Oldham group this year in Chadderton South and I think got 200 and something votes. Muhammad Ali is front and centre of the group who is coordinating a smear campaign against me. His hatred of me appears to be, I'm trying to make sense of it, that I won't criticise Israel enough for his liking, or Jewish people enough for his liking. I sat in my friend Eva Lowe's kitchen this afternoon. She gave me a spoonful of her dal that she was cooking. My friend Eva is both Israeli and Jewish. What I've learnt in the world is that the governments of a country do not necessarily reflect the views of its people. It's something you know we experience in this country ourselves. And whilst I'm more than comfortable to criticise the Israeli state, and I have done, context always matters. He doesn't want the context. So Muhammad Ali, of course, I think he's motivated by nothing other than envy. He just wants to be a somebody. Well, Muhammad, I'm not stopping you from being the somebody that you want to be. Go and be that person, whatever that person is. But if you determine success in life according to the shortcomings of others, then you will lead a very unfulfilled life. This is the second Muhammad Ali. Some of you will have seen in some of the WhatsApp groups. Seen with his Free Palestine t-shirt. Ranting and raving. Thinking he's smart. Now Muhammad, I thought about this a long time. They used to call him Mouse, by the way, in the community. And then he got upset when I made reference to his nickname. I could talk about your family business if I wanted, Muhammad, but I won't. I could talk about your past, Muhammad, but I'm not of that kind. So even though I've got extensive details of your past, I won't. I've never met this man, by the way. he is consistently not just abusive to me, but abusive to people who stand by me. Now I look at his motive, and he made the allegation that was then encouraged by some of these other people, that my crowdfunder, by the way, that many of you have supported me with. I think my smallest donations, £2, £5. The highest one was £1,000 right at the beginning, from someone who I value very much. He claimed I'm on the secret payroll of Zionists. I'm not sure who these Zionists are, or why I would be on their payroll. And if I'm on the payroll of Zionists, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be putting up posts every day asking people to support the crowdfunder. But if I was on the fund payroll and his reasoning follows through, it's one that I'm anti-Muslim. And it's something that these people have pushed right from the beginning and continue to push. This is Raja Miah. This is the man the police refused to arrest, even though there is clear evidence of malicious communication. Imagine what would happen to me if I went and doctored a Greater Manchester press release and put a photograph of Arood Shah or someone on it to make it out as though she was a rapist or a convicted drug dealer or something. I'd be arrested. Now, I believe the reason why they're not arresting him is because his brother, who's my friend, by the way, I grew up with Ashraful Alam, owns Longford's Solicitors. Longford's Solicitors, for those of you with memories long enough, is where Tahir Mushtaq, the brother of Shahid Mushtaq, Councillor Shahid Mushtaq, pretended he worked until Longford's issued a statement saying he didn't work there, although no one quite ever understood why he had a business card with his name on it from Longford's. Perhaps the police have an arrangement with Longford's, I don't know. Again, this young man I have never met. He posted that I'm a child abuser. Doctored GMP press releases and keeps manipulating the videos. And of course, given this context that I'm a fraudster, the fact that as an unemployed benefit scrounger, you can see he's trying to create that divisive narrative that somehow I'm anti-Muslim. This is him. He lives in Shaw somewhere. Doesn't even live in the constituency I'm standing in. And then we have this man. The bearded one with the red tie. If you recognize the man on the end, it's because he appears on my credits. I think he's like that's the deputy mayor in the middle, by the way, in Cheshire Council. If you notice the man on the end, if he looks familiar, he appears on the opening credits of my videos. His name is Hushia. I have no issue with Hushia. In fact, his brother, Hushia's brother, is a guy called Serag, who I respect immensely. He appears in the opening credits of my video, stood next to Jim McMahon outside the mosque. That's his daughter, who's done very well. She's a Labour Party councillor in Cheshire. And the guy with the beard and the red tie is called Shah. Shah is the one who was dragged into a police station because of his altercation with Peter Brown. He is constantly pushing the message that somehow I am not fit for purpose to represent not necessarily this town, but the Muslim community. What he's not stopped to realise is I see myself as not just representing the Muslim community, and not only representing the Muslim community. It goes back to the question I asked at the beginning: what sort of town do we want to live in? What sort of future do we want? He goes on these pro-Palestinian marches. Just give me a second, please. There's something I need to do. Just give me 1 second. I missed something. So please bear with me. I'm trying to work out where he got angry and angry with me. And one of the places was this. Not long after October the 7th took place, I look at the EDL and Tommy Robinson as a comparison. And I look at the grooming gangs. And I believe, in my experience, that many of those who protest against the grooming gangs don't do so because they care about children, but because it allows them to push a political narrative they believe in. Hence why I want nothing to do with DDL. Because the way they frame the problem and the way they frame the solutions is a world away from how I see it. Well, here we have, and he posts the name anonymous. Here we have Shah, this one. Whose sister is a Labour Party councillor, whose father is a Labour Party supporter, keen supporter of Jim McMahon, pushing this rhetoric that I'm not Muslim enough for them. Well, clearly I won't be Muslim enough for them because I will never sign a petition that wants to legalise Hamas. Now, I'm not getting involved in the rights and wrongs of what Hamas did or what Hamas didn't do, where they came from, or any of that. I'm not interested in signing or promoting the view that any arm of Hamas should be legalised in this country. Maybe Councillor Cameron Gaffor or Councillor Naveed Chauhan support this petition. You'll have to ask them. But I won't sign petitions like this. There's a reason why Hamas is proscribed in the United Kingdom. I come to this space not as a career politician. I come to this space as someone who managed contracts for the Office for Security and Counter-Terrorism. I worked directly with children who were radicalised, who became terrorists. I've seen the devastation caused. I'm not picking on Hamas because they're Muslim. My viewpoint would be the same of any organisation that used violence as a means of achieving their aims. For the 5 years many of you have been on this journey with me, I've advocated nothing other than peaceful resistance and educating ourselves and holding these people to account at the ballot box. It's one of the reasons why they failed to prosecute me. I can't support this. I won't support this. Here is me responding to a friend of mine, openly on one of these groups, on the 9th of November. The 9th of November. And I'll read it to you. In the United Kingdom, Hamas is a proscribed organisation. That means it is on a list of terrorist organisations. Anyone found to be supporting terrorist organisations can be arrested and prosecuted using anti-terrorism laws. Are you really asking me to endorse an organisation that will result in me being imprisoned? My feelings on Hamas is how badly the world powers have failed, where Hamas can be viewed by anyone as a solution. In my experience, the vast majority of people only turn to extremists when those that should have intervened failed to do so. I do not believe Hamas will liberate the Palestinian people or bring an end to their suffering. And this is me as to why I won't support this. This is Councillor Shireen Akhtar from Cheshire West and Chester, who is pictured here. I think she's done very well, and I wish her all the luck in her political career as a Labour Party councillor. I have never met the young woman. I have nothing against her. But I find it hypocritical that her brother wants to attack me when his sister is actually a Labour Party councillor who's linked to Keir Starmer. Did your sister sign the petition? I doubt it. Nor should she have, if there's any ambiguity in my position. This was sent to me anonymously by an organisation calling themselves the Greater Manchester Muslim Voter. It's one of those Oldham Council type petitions they expected me to return within 7 days. I point blank ignored it. It's one of those Oldham Council style consultations where the questions are loaded. Once again, I have stepped forward into this space to represent all of us. And I genuinely believe, heartfelt, genuinely believe, that the more people who we have who look like me, who talk like me, who think like me, in positions of public service, then the better chance our town has, our country has, of eradicating the divisions that have festered amongst our communities, encouraged by the political elite as far as I'm concerned. So I'm sorry, anonymous person from Greater Manchester Muslim Voters. I've not responded to your petition and I won't respond to your petition. Because if 6 years and 20 plus years before that hasn't demonstrated my loyalty to my people, and my viewpoint on what sort of world I want to live in and what sort of country I want to be part of. If what I have done has not been enough, then it will never be enough for you. Sorry, it's my iPad's crashed. Give me 1 second. Let me just bring it back up. As many of you know, I was invited to a hustings, or something masquerading as a hustings, on Sunday. It first started with repeated phone calls from this person, followed up by text messages. I don't know who Saeed is. He then engaged on Facebook and I clicked his profile and he's from London. He's not even from here. A bunch of us are arranging hustings for Oldham candidates running in the general election. Sent me a formal invite, blah, blah, blah. It then transpired that they were holding what they claimed to be a hustings combined for Oldham East and also Oldham West, which is unheard of. Hustings are constituency specific. Oldham West is a constituency, Oldham East is a separate constituency. It was clear from the way they'd sent me an invite that none of the genuine political contenders would be going. I don't think Jim McMahon would be going. In fact, I later found I didn't even bother responding to him. At least I responded to you guys. And it was polite. It's impolite. And then I gave them my reasoning. And they started to publicly question me on Facebook. I don't like mixing politics with religion. I campaigned against my mosque being a hub, a centre for Labour Party politics. So why would I go to another mosque and participate in a political hustings? There's some cock and bull about that was the only venue they could find, but that's nonsense. I also believe, put aside the fact that, a hosting should be constituency specific. I also believe that the venues and the times and the places need to be in, somewhere that's inclusive and welcoming for all. And I would object to it being held in a pub, as I would object to it being held in a mosque, for example. And that's separate to my reluctance to engage in political discourse, party political discourse in religious venues, but specifically mosques, because of the way in which mosques have been exploited. Of course, Jim wasn't there, Louise. Debbie wasn't there. None of the Conservative candidates were there. To which our mate Shah, here he is, starts to make a series of allegations. Apparently the Conservatives are not putting up candidate in Oldham West because I've done a deal with the Conservatives. Of course the Conservatives are putting up a candidate in Oldham West. They've got to put up a full slate of candidates. And then apparently Reform aren't putting up a candidate because I've done a deal with Reform, and Reform are, according to Shah, a bunch of racists. I've seen the Reform's manifesto. I can only go off the manifesto. And there's nothing in the manifesto that I've looked at in terms of their priorities that would have me think they're a bunch of racists. And also, Reform exclude the likes of Tommy Robinson and the EDL from membership. But for the likes of our mate Shah, it's vital that someone specific like myself is demonized as anti-Muslim because the world I dream of and live in, the town I believe we can make together, is not the sort of place that this man wants to live in. And that's the conclusion I've come to. Because I won't sign a petition wanting to legalize Hamas. And I'm not scared of presenting my position. Why? There's more to it than just that, Chris. There's more to it than just me standing down. Me standing down isn't this much of what this is about. There are people in our community who want to take this country somewhere else. And I am in no way. And people like me are in no way. So I don't go to this hustings. Hardly anyone goes. I think one of the Green candidates turned up, one of the Lib Dems turned up. One of George Galloway's team turned up, and some fringe party turned up. Sam turned up. Hamdani, good on him. If you want to go, Sam, by all means. This is the man who last week or the week before wanted to become deputy leader of Oldham Council, making reference to me. Coward and chickening away from a hustings. This is one of those WhatsApp group that are encouraging all of this divisiveness and hatred. Coward and chickening away from a hustings. How can you take him seriously? After everything he said about the Mosque, Pakistani men. So this is the deputy, want to be deputy leader of Oldham Council, engaging and encouraging these idiots. This is one of his mates. Now I know Junaid. We can see why these people think they can do that. This guy's out targeting Muslims only for his EDL Tommy Robinson base. That's most of you, according to these people. I don't know who supports him, but this guy is hellbound. So this is the I'm a gay Christian convert stuff. I hate myself for being a Muslim and Muslims in general now. What I refuse to do is encourage violence. I refuse to judge others. And I try and see the best in people, regardless of what faith or what background that they are. It goes back to what sort of town do we want to live in? What sort of country do we want to live in? But this guy is out targeting Muslims only for his EDL Tommy Robinson base. And you can see this guy called Subzil. And I've blacked out his number out of respect. I'm a whore. Look who it's endorsed by. Look who this exchange is endorsed by. The want to be deputy leader of Oldham Council, Cameron Guffaw. He's encouraging. Not only, I say he represents a sectarian group because of its exclusive Pakistani dynamics, or almost exclusively Pakistani dynamics. Now here he is encouraging this divisive, hate-filled narrative. Are there thousands of people across my town who support me? EDL Tommy Robinson base, supporter base. Sorry, Chris, I'm picking on you because I saw you yesterday and had a coffee with you in the coffee shop run by my Bangladeshi friend, where you sat and had a coffee with me. This is a serving councillor who came this close to becoming deputy leader of the council. Demonising the majority of this town as EDL Tommy Robinson supporters. Encouraging these lunatics. I think you should hear this. You can find the... This is what they're sending to my friends, my family.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
No, it's not bullies, Julie. This is more. This is the divisive narrative, the them and us narrative that I've seen firsthand created in parts of the world where extremism thrives. For that to happen, they need to divide people into one group and the other. And you need to become the enemy. And people like me need to be seen to be as sellouts. Which is why this was shared by Builder.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
This is Monjoy's on here. Sent me a message upset. I said, don't worry, mate. I'll deal with it myself. Directly this way. Monjoy, including in this all Muslim comments, are you part of the Muslims, Bangladeshis and Pakistanis who are gang raping white working class girls? Now, this was shared by Shah, this original viewpoint, and Mushtaq Mia, alleging that I've said all Muslims are gang raping white working class girls. I've never. It's absurd, isn't it? It's absurd. But they're sharing this viewpoint to try and have me attacked. Now, criticising the grooming gangs and looking at the demographics of the grooming gangs and saying the grooming gangs are predominantly Pakistani, occasionally Bangladeshi, almost always Muslim, almost all Muslim. In terms of the grooming gang demographics, is nowhere near saying all Muslims are gang raping working class white girls. But this is what this man here, whose sister's a Labour Party councillor, is pushing. And this man here, who works in apparently some high-rise enough job where, you know, I am not like me, an unemployed benefit scrounger. And day and night, this stuff is being circulated to my friends and my family. Could we have a response on this by anyone on Team Raja? Well, here is a response from Raja Miah himself. Raman or Anha, come and find me. And I'll tell you now what I've said from the beginning. That if it was your children who were being gang raped, I would be fighting for them as well. If the police had turned the other cheek and looked the other way and said, Pakistani girls don't matter, or Asian, Bangladeshi girls don't matter, and Muslim girls don't matter, and you would have shouted racism, I would have been standing alongside you saying we need this dealt with. It is now a matter of fact that children as young as 11 in this town were dragged off the streets, lured off the streets, gang raped and trafficked. They are not the barefaced lies. This is not a far-right conspiracy. And wanting those who committed the crimes, as well as those who failed them, held to account, is not racist, because those who committed the crimes are of one demographic and those who failed them are of another demographic. And nowhere in it, ever, have I said all Muslims are involved in committing this crime, on the basis that I look at a Muslim in the mirror every day, but I'm not the Muslim you want, am I? So there you go, Rahman. Is that enough of a response for you? But you know you're lying. Same with Mr. Anhar, who is one of these idiots who like this post. You can see his name at the bottom. Calling most of you EDL supporter base. These people don't want to live in an inclusive society. These people do not want a political system that values both communities, all communities. The likes of Cameron Gaffer thrive off sectarian divides. Which is why this lad called Ali, is it TFC, the chicken shop, Ali, that you're from? Raja Miah, are you even a Muslim? Moyab's not here, I don't think, this evening. He had a distressing phone call from one of his cousins. I'd converted to Christianity, apparently. If you find faith in whatever way, deity you believe in, whatever religion you believe in, if you find faith and that faith makes you a better person, I'm happy for you, I'm happy for all of us. Moab's response, of course, well, that's news to me because I went to Friday prayers with him a couple of days ago. Friends of mine are sending me this. Again, it's the Mushtaq Mir and his mates from Oldham, Westwood and Calder's Community Watch, creating these fake accounts with my images, and all the reason is to cause harass and alarm. And Greater Manchester Police know, and Greater Manchester Police won't do anything because they're part of the incitement of violence towards me. I believe incitement to my murder. Greater Manchester Police are partners in this. One of the press releases is doctored with my photograph on it to make it look as though I'm a dangerous criminal. And they do nothing. Allegations are made in graphic detail that I'm a child molester. And they do nothing. Yeah. Goes back to the L-bit issue, and you can see him here. More Free Ali, that's Muhammad Ali, that's the second one. Did you ever receive funding from a Zionist lobby? I don't know any Zionist lobby, lad. My funding comes from the Buy Me a Coffee that many of you support me with. It's £2 a time. People subscribe to my newsletter. They can subscribe for £3 a month. They can subscribe for £3 a month, £5 a month, £10 a month, or they can even just subscribe for free. That's where my funding comes from. It comes from the people of my town because I give them hope. I represent them. I believe that we can all be better. And my criticism My criticism of the demonstrations at Elbit wasn't that any of you wanted to stop the selling of arms. My criticism was the violence, the smashing of windows. My criticism was how this reflects on us as a community that resorts to violence. And the Islam I know, the Muslim, the way I was raised a Muslim, the Islam I know, is one of dignity, is one of humility. It's not going and smashing someone's windows and throwing red paint over a building. I believe in education, I believe in lobbying, I believe in political discourse. I believe in talking to people, in convincing people. Helping people to find the humanity within them, so they want better for themselves and better for everyone else. And I'm proud that the faith I was taught by the people who taught me has taken me to that place. We move on to Brother Jamal. Brother Jamal, Jim McMahon, is now sponsoring this Facebook page, so it's a paid advert. The paid advert essentially is engaging in this discourse about Gaza and Palestine and trying to present himself as pro-Muslim. I won't do that, because I do not believe that we will get to the place we need to get to by presenting myself as pro-Muslim. We'll get to where we need to be by presenting myself as believing that we need to find a way where all of us live together. For a town like ours, we need to get to a place where all of us find a way of living together. And the hypocrisy of this man, Sharon. Nothing to say on the cover up of the grooming and gang rape of where his name is all over it. No meeting with survivors, saying he supports a public inquiry. Do you see how they play us off with each other? And at the centre of it is McMahon. Salik Mir, who asked a question at the bottom, and I didn't pin it all, but I went to school with Salik. It was in my phone with me. I went to a school reunion with him. He's a grandfather. He was smiling, telling me how he's a grandfather, and how I started late, and I laughed and I said, well, it's probably why I've still got hair, Salik, and you haven't. But he asked a legitimate question. I've seen how he ignored question after question by the public about the Palestinian situation. You just blanked them out as these people questioned you. And that's my point. The purpose of an MP is to represent you. Is to engage with you. And if you're wrong, to sit and tell you you're wrong. And look. My friend, whose name I blanked out, you are wrong. And I told you you're wrong. Because that's what a leader does. Not this. Pandering. Hoping it fixes things. Ooh, I've met with the Palestinian ambassador now. I'll put a photograph and put it out as a Facebook ad. That'll get the Muslims back on side. Maybe get invited for a samosa again. Mr. Mango Chutney. exactly what it is, isn't it, Tony? My apologies. Thank you to the Tony. I just came up. I just realised. Thank you to the 3 or 4 of you who've super chatted me today. Thanks for that. Thank you to all of you who've continued to support the crowdfunder. By the way, we're very close to £10,000. We've now got, before I continue to the next part, because I want to go and address some of the shenanigans going on politically. You know, I'm assuming that most of you have had an upbringing like me. I didn't grow up rich. I grew up poor, but proud. You know, that sort of proud poor. And you rock up to a birthday party, or you rock up somewhere, and you know your mum's gone and got you the best things that she can afford, but it's nowhere near as nice as some of the other children. But even at a small age, you appreciate the fact that sacrifices have been made to get you somewhere presentable, so you don't look too out of place. You know what I mean? If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Well, that's how we have been going to enter this general election. We haven't got the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands. We haven't got any of that. But every penny you've given that's got us close to 10,000 means that we are going into this fight and we are presentable. Our leaflets have been delivered, the first, second, third now. There's 2 before in the build-up, and the first proper leaflet has gone out and is going out. Thanks to Gary Tarbuck here. Thank you, Gary. That's exactly what the purpose of an MP is. It's coordinating a team of you, volunteers. Taking time off from work. Teenagers to someone in the 70s out there, 80s out there. I can never repay that. So we've turned up, we've raised our banners, and we're presentable. And we're presentable because of the money you've given. And I'm sorry if I've never stopped to ask you if you're Zionists or not. All I cared was that you're good people. And you've stood by me. As I stood by you and continue to stand by you. Cameron Gaffar was never standing for MP, according to him. He never had any intention of standing in Oldham West. He said that just to scare me. Do I look like the sort of person that's scared? You do not know me at all, Cameron Gaffar. If you think a hate more millionaire like you is going to scare me. But look how he's treated his own people with contempt. If you believe this, he was just playing them of standing. This is Councillor Wahid, Abdul Wahid, expelled from the Conservatives for anti-Semitism. Cameron Gaffar then decides Abdul Wahid is standing. Dear friends and constituents of Oldham, West Chadis and Royton, after much observation, thought and encouragement from many of you, I am excited to announce my candidacy for MP. His candidacy for MP lasted a day because they then met with this guy called Zafar, a solicitor. I've never met Zafar. I have no issue with Zafar. I don't know him. Zafar is the candidate endorsed by Shoaib Akhtar and Nail Ibrahim, another Pakistani faction. And they are, the Pakistani factions. There's no racism in that. It's just a reflection of what you guys are. You're one Pakistani faction playing off with another Pakistani faction. So Councillor Waheed steps down, and you can see them all here. Come on, people. What sort of town do we want to live in? What do we want to leave behind for our children and our grandchildren? So they do the horse trading, and it seems that in return for Councillor Cameron Gaffar's sidekick Waheed standing down, the day after he was excited to announce his candidacy. The day after him standing down for Shoaib Akhtar's candidate and Nail Ibrahim's candidate, this solicitor called Zafar Zakaria. In return, Shoaib Akhtar and Nail Ibrahim have joined the sectarian Oldham group. Self-declared sectarian Oldham group, because Councillor Naveed Chauhan, who's in this picture somewhere, came along on one of my posts today and confirmed that the Oldham group a sectarian. I want you to listen to this. In fact, I want to listen to it as well, so give me 1 second.
Along with Brother Zafar, planning to stand as an independent in this constituency. My name is Dr. Waqas Farid, and I was, along with Brother Zafar, planning to stand as an independent in this constituency of Oldham West and Royton. You know, we have to look at the greater objective, and we've been in discussions, and we had to look at what was right for the community, what was the best way to benefit the community, to come together and to oust Jim, who is the Labour MP, and the best way was that we came together and combined our vote banks. So I'm reminded of the incident from the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, where an important negotiation was taking place in Hudaybiyah, and the Prophet ﷺ selected Umar radiallahu anh to be the ambassador towards Mecca. And Umar radiallahu anh, although he was selected by the Prophet ﷺ, he reflected upon this and came back and said to the Prophet ﷺ that I don't think I'm the best person because I don't have enough support in Mecca, and I think Uthman would be better because he has that tribal support there, and he would be safer and he would be better to go there. So in the end, Uthman radiallahu went, even though the Prophet selected Umar, and he stepped back. And using that lesson, I appreciate that, you know, I felt like I could do a good job, but I appreciate that Brother Zafar has more support than me, and therefore he has a better chance of winning, and therefore I am putting all my weight behind him.
Brother Zafar.
Assalamu alaikum. Just want to thank you, Dr. Saab, for his decision to support me in this forthcoming general elections. Our aim has always been to take out Jim on his stance, etc., with Gaza and defeat the Labour Party. I must say, Dr. Saab, this is probably our third meeting we've had now. I met his family, very lovely, pious family. We were at the hustings together yesterday, which is, you know, that was good. Dr. Saab has won a lot of hearts, you know, he's won a lot of hearts, and I just want to just extend my thank you, and inshallah, Dr. Saab, we will work against the Labour Party together, inshallah, to defeat Jim. And I promise you, my heart is with the community, and I will take whatever it takes to support our community. Jazakallah khair.
Okay. The young man, Doctor, again, I've not met him, declared his candidacy. I didn't say anything on it. Zakaria, Zaf, declared his candidacy. Didn't say anything on it because Those of you who've been on this journey with me will know this, remember this. When Sean Fielding was standing for re-election, and I put my weight behind Mark Wilkinson, his wife, Kath Wilkinson, questioned why I would not condemn Warren Bates, who was also standing. And my viewpoint has been from the outset, in a democracy, people have a right to stand. People want to stand, they can't stand. They should stand. Because that's a fundamental feature of a democracy. But this is Pakistani deal making. They've got candidates to stand down. This is the latest candidate they've got to stand down. The doctor talks about the combined vote banks. Now, which takes you to a different place. But they both make reference to what their motivation is. They want to oust Jim and take out Jim on his stance on Gaza. I want to oust Jim and take out Jim, not just because of his stance on Gaza. In terms of his stance on Gaza, is the hypocrisy shown and the failure to represent those he promised to represent, or even engage in dialogue with those. That's actually worse. I believe his hypocrisy is there to be all to be seen, but the reason I want to oust Jim, and I'm sorry if this loses me votes, the reason, my motivation, my primary motivation for wanting to oust Jim is because I believe in a better town for all of us. I want to help build a better town for all of us, where we are as united as we can be as a community for the betterment of all of us. And before Muhammad Ali or Mushtaq Mir or Shah comes along and snips something, I care about what's happening in Gaza. I care about what's happening in Yemen. I care about what's happened in Afghanistan, continuing to happen. I care about all of those places. But I look and see, where can I make the most difference? Where can I be the difference? Of course I can speak on those issues. But the primary purpose of a constituency MBE is to represent the people who live in the constituency and to improve their lives. And by improving your lives, you can be the difference you want to see in the world far more effectively than you currently are. And in many ways, that's exactly what we've done through these transmissions over the last 5 years. We have built, we have mobilized, we have politically educated a community and mobilized them in a way that they are not anywhere else in this country. And this isn't a criticism, because I don't know the man, I don't want to criticise him. This is the election leaflet. I ridiculed the Oldham group's election leaflet. You can see the colours. The colours are the Palestinian, is to create the, that. It's his prerogative. Oldham West and Royton deserves an MP who fights for you, not ministerial perks. Well, Zaf, perhaps you need to go and look at the name of the constituency first. It's Oldham West, Chadderton and Royton. It's changed. So there's a town called Chadderton. There's 3 wards in there, by the way. Something like 15,000 households. I don't know how many voters. Should do. But maybe you want to go and have a look at that. It's Oldham West, Chadderton and Royton. So it helps if you get the constituency name right of the place you're standing. How will you fight? Doesn't say. He goes on to say, I will be a voice in Parliament on issues like Palestine. unlike the Tories and Labour, who continue to support brutal subjugation and dispossession of Palestinians. Okay. I will fight to save the NHS from privatisation and demand increased funding for better patient care. That's cliches, aren't they? I will campaign for more social housing and demand affordable rents. Make your Cameron Guffaws endorsed client is a HMO millionaire. Have you stopped to consider the contradiction? I will ensure no child in Oldham West, Chadderton and Royton is left behind and push for more resources for tutoring, mental health services and SEND, special educational needs. Well, actually, one does not necessarily link to the other. No child being left behind is not necessarily linked to tutoring, mental health services and SEND. It's like, mate, you're a lawyer, you're a solicitor. And this isn't your area. And I don't want to embarrass you, so I'll just pick on this point. I will fight crime locally by deploying more officers and implementing neighbourhood safety measures. Lad, an MP has no resources, access to resources to fighting crime locally by deploying more officers. That's not within your remit. That's the remit of the Greater Manchester Mayor after the devolution and the Metro Mayor's coming in. You pay it on your council tax. For the bit about the mayor, the policing, that goes to Andy Burnham's team. The Police and Crime Commissioner's name, devolved powers, is called Kate Green. And that's her remit. So she's the person who works with Greater Manchester Police around deploying more officers and implementing neighbourhood safety measures. It's not your MP. I don't want to embarrass you, mate. You have every right to stand. Stand. If people want to vote for you, they'll vote for you. Because that's a democracy I believe in. I'll stand on my policies and my platform and I'll promote what I believe in. I'm not going to look at you and say you're not Muslim enough or you're not integrated enough or you're not this enough. I'm going to talk about what I am and what I will do. So please stand. This is that idiot again, Mohammed. We won't stand for hate and is superimposing my photograph. This is what they did with Mushtaq Miah. Remember on the Greater Manchester press release? But worse. I'm flattered that you think of me as a party leader. This is Councillor Chauhan. Councillor Naveed Chauhan, Waterhead Councillor. The sectarian group has organised another meeting. Do the right thing, Raja. Step down and endorse Zafar. Better chance of taking out Jim. Councillor Chauhan. Naveed Chauhan. Don't want to be mistaking Dr. Zahid Chauhan with someone like Naveed Chauhan. Say what for 1 second I was to step down. Just say for 1 second. Forget the 6 years and the sacrifices for you Johnny-come-latelys. Make my family's life, my friend's life better. Your mates will stop sharing the crap that they are doing, trying to promote me as an anti-Muslim, trying to have me incited to be killed. I could go back to Alexander Park with my daughter that we've not been for many years now. Say I was to step down. There's 284 people on this thread. And there are thousands of people who support me. Trust me, believe me. There are thousands of people. What makes you think? Well, I know what makes you think because your vote bank works in that way. in that clan system. My supporter base doesn't work this way. I've educated people to think for themselves, believe, critique information themselves and make their own minds up. I've come to this from a very, very different place. What makes you think the thousands that support me, what makes you think, Naveed, that the thousands that support me, if I was to step down, would buy into this? So no. I have a duty to my people, of all backgrounds, all faiths and none, to see this free and lead the fight in removing Jim McMahon. Someone whose opinion I hold highly for me this morning, wanting to reassure me that I'd keep hold of my deposit and not to get my hopes up. And he's not the first person who's come to move out. I said it with the best of intentions, and it's fine. This town is where it is because I've got it to where it is. And despite the machinery of the Labour Party and everything else it has access to, we have removed our leaders time after time after time from power. Our campaign has been crowdfunded by the people of this town and beyond. I don't care about the £500 or £5,000 or the fact that it's costing me twice as much as I'll raise. I don't care. Because when our children and our grandchildren ask us, we can look them in the eye and say, we did our best, we tried. When the enemy came knocking on our door, we opened it and we charged at them. We fought back. We fought for what we believed in. So no amount of harassment and intimidation will stop me from representing the people I care about. You cannot humiliate me any more than you can intimidate me. I'm not like you, Naveed Chauhan. I'm not like you, Cameron Ghaffar. I'm not like you, Arud Shah. I'm not like Jim McMahon or Debbie Abrahams. I come from a different place. Thank you very much for those of you who joined me. Please, if I've asked you for help, we've got a small team of volunteers. Every day they're out. Please contact Gary. Please contact one of the team. Help us. Help yourself. And I don't mean this from a place of arrogance, but I genuinely do not believe this chance will come again. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to show, to prove to ourselves that we have the courage to be the change we want to see in the place we call home. This chance will not come again. Good night.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.